Welcome back. It's another sad case of an academic seeing their career disappear before our eyes after unbearable pressure from trans activists. Cathy Boardman thought she had found her dream job, teaching cultural studies at the British and Irish Musical Institution in Manchester, where she started as a freelancer in 2017. She thought she was respected by her students until November 2020, when she asked if a drag queen's woman face could be considered as bad as blackface. But what she thought would be a constructive debate around feminist issues ended with anonymous complaints from snowflake students. More complaints came when she failed to dedicate a lecture about the rape and murder of Sarah Everard to trans issues. In December 2021, the Academy's principal finally told her the chilling truth, that some of the students were, quote, out to get her. Instead of feeling her free speech was being protected by her employer, things spiralled downward. Students who seemingly made it their mission to end her career continued to file rafts of complaints, some of which extraordinarily branded Cathy homophobic, despite the fact she's a lesbian. In May this year, just weeks into her cherished salaried teaching position that she hoped would secure a better future for her children, Cathy was told she had failed her probationary period and was dismissed. She has since taken the Music Academy to an employment tribunal and has raised over £13,500 in crowdfunding to help fight her very important case. And I'm delighted to say that Cathy joins me now. Cathy, this case absolutely horrified me. We're seeing it time and again. And I guess you must have had to make a real decision to go public, because a lot of folk are going through this, losing their career, but being too scared about the backlash.
Yeah, and that's happening all over, and people are like, oh, you know, I agree with you, but we can't talk about it, right? So many people are coming with that, oh, I do agree with you, but we're not allowed to say that. And to me, that's like, why? Why is this taboo? And I want to sort of separate it, really, from, you know, saying, no, it's trans activists who've done this, and that makes it seem like it's a... women who talk about women are branded as transphobic, even when we're not talking about transgender issues, which is what happened with me. With the case of, I was doing it was a new module, and I'd said at the beginning of it, look, if anything is in the news and relevant, that's what we'll be talking about. And so in the week that we were doing the sex and gender week, we have 1 week, 1 hour, to talk about the whole of sex and gender in the creative industries and the news, right? So you just can't cover everything. And it was the week of the Sarah Everard Vigil, which no doubt people remember was very heavy-handedly policed by members of the same force who had raped and murdered Sarah Everard, you know, the man who had done that. Not that I'm saying they're all doing that, obviously. And that was in the news. There was a new hashtag trending, you know, enough is enough. It was the big news story of the week. It was also the day after International Women's Day, when Jess Phillips reads out the list of murdered women, which I think 181 that year. And so violence against women was in the news. And so that was what I'd decided to focus on. It is a music and sort of music industry institution. So, you know, we're looking at that as relevant to, well, how does this fear of violence affect how women participate in the music industry, whether that is going to gigs, you know, as an audience member, or being in a band. You know, we also looked at statistics of sort of men and women in the industry, which, like many other industries, is kind of skewed towards the male. This was then taken as being transphobic because we didn't talk about transgender.
So it was simply because of an omission?
Well, I'd said at the beginning of the lecture, which I think it's standard academic practice, and it's what I encourage students to do in essays, is if you're using terms that could be ambiguous, make sure you define them and that you use them consistently. You don't have to use them in the same way as other people do, but use them consistently. And I start off with a fully referenced, obviously, definition of what is sex, which is, you know, there's two sexes, male and female, and what is gender, which is, you know, different roles and cultural norms. And these cultural norms of what is considered masculine or considered feminine or considered appropriate for male behaviour or female behaviour, that's not fixed in the way that sex is fixed. It is. It changes through time and space. So use the example, because we're based in Manchester, you know, what it means to be a man in Manchester now is different from what it meant 200 years ago to be a man in Manchester. What it means to be a woman and do appropriate feminine and womanly behaviours is different in Manchester now than it is, say, in Saudi Arabia now, or in a different place. So in different times, in different places, the gender rules are different. And so I will be using them in this way. A question did come from a student, why aren't we talking about transgender issues? And it was, what I didn't say is because the management have told me not to talk about it, which they had. But we just haven't got time to do everything justice. We have 1 hour in a whole year. And the lectures were 1 hour, and then the seminars are an hour and a half. I was like, you want to discuss different things in the seminars, please do. If you want to talk, if you want to, write about this in your essays, please do.
Which is
do the research, come and talk to me.
Perfectly reasonable, right? But what we're seeing...
I thought that was completely reasonable.
Yeah, but what we're seeing at so many academic institutions now is what I would call old-fashioned witch hunts against people who don't sign up to, again, this is my definition, but I describe it as trans extremism. Because the vast majority of people, 99% of people, are very supportive of trans rights and want trans people to live very happy lives.
As they should be.
But we believe in biology and we believe in the protection of women.
And I think that people get kind of forced into this role that is painted as trans exclusionary. Because
there's this term TERF, isn't it? You're called a TERF.
Absolutely, yeah.
A trans-exclusionary radical
which is a really divisive term. And it's used as an insult. It doesn't even mean anything.
But people throw it at J.K. Rowling as well, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And people get cancelled and whatever.
But the consequence of this, though, you were cancelled. I mean, you actually lost your job.
Yeah. And I just want to pick up on something you said in the introduction as well.
Please.
She thought she was well respected by students. I still was by most of them.
So what was it? So what was it? Because this is again something that seems to be happening more and more. A very small group of radical students terrify university bosses or the bosses at education institutes by running campaigns.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's interesting, it isn't the majority, isn't it? But the problem is this very small vocal minority are setting the agenda.
Absolutely. And I think really feel sorry for this cohort of students as well, because one of the problems that we had, which is one of the reasons I've come here from Manchester, I'm not sitting on a screen, is because we were doing this lecture, it's a brand new course, brand new module, we're doing it on Zoom. These poor first year...
Horrible.
These first-year students who should be starting their uni life and all the rest of it, they're sitting at home on their screens in their bedroom and they're interacting with university as if it's Twitter. So, there's a little feed on the webinar and they're all chatting and it's quite overwhelming for someone who's teaching that.
Yeah.
And I was lucky that I had an assistant, a co-teacher in there, an amazing woman, who was there to kind of field the chat and give the questions to me. So I didn't even see a lot of the things that came in. But also, if you're teaching, it's a two-way thing. It's not just I'm telling you things, but you can't interact with people online in the same way.
But the problem with all of this, of course, is that teachers are starting to lose their freedom of speech. But you're going to press ahead with this court
I am,
case?
because... they want me to shut up and I won't, And I know people will be going, she says she's been silenced and here she is on the telly talking about it, right? It's like, I would actually just be talking to people about it in classrooms.
Exactly, which is what you're not doing. Well, look, please keep in touch with us and let me know how it all proceeds, because we're very fascinated in this case. That was Cultural Studies academic Cathy Boardman. Of course, we do give both sides of the story an opportunity to say their piece on GBNews. So in a statement from the Institute, we were told BIMM fully supports and defends freedom of speech, academic freedom and equality, and has rigorous policies in place to ensure staff and students are treated fairly and in full accordance with these principles. It would not be appropriate for us to comment on the specifics behind Ms. Boardman's unsuccessful probation period, given the ongoing litigation. Safe to say that the allegations of discrimination are strongly denied.